caught on fire by then.
Exactly. So who knows? The people that put it on reached out and they're like, yeah, everything's still going forward. So I'm hopeful it's gonna be a good event, and yeah, looking forward to seeing my old friends that I haven't seen in a couple of years, and yeah, that should be exciting. Other than that, I think I'm also speaking in LA in April at the Alien event and Biomed Expo. So those are two things coming up.
Very nice.
The dates I don't have on top of mind because I'm still unpacking from my house after being stuck in an Airbnb for 2 months. Funny how long it takes to just, pull everything out of storage and go, oh God, I got to reestablish all this. I've still got
They
boxes.
say it literally takes 2
years.
years. 2 years. So you're doing good. You're doing good, Hans.
I am. Things are good.
You're ahead of the game.
Things are well. Well, not really. Always looking for, new contracts and new probabilities. That's kind of key. Last year was kind of a interesting shit show of projects, but loved them all. This year I'm hoping for, better, greater, bigger, better, and best. So yeah.
As are we all. May 2025 be exponentially better than 2024.
Yes. So, what shall we dive into?
What would you like to talk about, good sir? Did you want to give like a brief rundown maybe of what you're going to be covering at your couple presentations you're going to be doing?
So, Conscious Life Expo, I'm doing a little bit of a deeper dive into, because it's Conscious Life Expo, the Dropa Stones, Dropa Mystery. It's interesting that David Serrata will be there, who was kind of
very nice.
Who was in one of the documentaries that I watched around this topic when I was researching it. So I really want to, at least chat with him and pick his brain a little bit on the subject. Looking forward to meeting up with Jimmy Church again. Love that guy. Super cool. Anyway, and other people, because I know a lot of people in LA, so I'm hoping they'll show up for CLE. Alien event's gonna be a little different, so same scenario. Alien event, Biomed Expo. Usually David likes to do 4 or 5 events, but at least this time he's doing 2, which is great because then he can focus a little more on just promoting the 2 versus promoting 3 or 4. And yeah, I'll be talking about the Ancient Mysteries of Kemet there. Another book that I've put out, basically dealing with Egypt before the Greeks and the Romans and the Arabs took over it. So, pre-Egypt. Because most of what we learn about Egypt is all about, literally, Egyptology is the Greek history forward. And so, well, what happened before that? Because the Greeks came in and they siphoned everything off and they created their own history around ancient Egypt, and this became biblical history, and none of it is correct in my opinion. Just doing my own research into this and dealing with people that also are knowledgeable on this subject. So Stephen Mailer, Patricia, and Yusuf Iwan, great influences, and I keep coming back to this subject, and so yeah, I'm going to be speaking about that in April.
Very nice. Well, do you want to just give us a little, maybe the 5 points or 3 to 5 points of the biggest points you think of the difference between what the Romans wrote as Egyptian history or the Greeks compared to what you believe to actually have been ancient Egyptian history?
Sure. So there's 2 elements that are overlooked. One is the sun, and the other are the houses. So the sun is interesting because to the Greeks there was only one sun. It was Ra, and that's all they heard. That's all they figured from what the ancient Cometians taught them. But in actuality, there were 5 phases of the sun. So the first phase of the sun is called Sahra or Kefir. And so Sahra or Sarah, this is where the name Sarah comes from, is the birth of the sun. And so this was the first phase of the sun, also represented by Kefir. So Kefir was the dung beetle, or as we know it, the scarab. And so the scarab would push a ball of dung onto a mound of the sand when the sun rises so that the heat would allow it to ferment, and then the larvae would grow and they would be able to eat the dung. Anyway, so this is the first phase of the sun, the birth of the sun, Sahra. So the second phase of the sun was Ra, and this is what the Cometians or the Egyptians and even the Greeks thought was the only phase of the sun, Ra. Well, Ra is the adolescent sun. It's the teenager that's always rebellious. Fuck you, mom and dad, whatever. This is Ra, and so it's the angry sun.
The Ra, the rage of Ra, the angry sun.
So the next phase, the third phase, is called Un, and so this is the afternoon. This is where we get noon from. It's known as the light sun or the enlightened sun, but this goes further because the next phase of the sun is Aten, and this is the golden hour. When skaters go out and surfers go out and they want to hit the best waves, sometimes that's right at the cusp of evening to night, and you have that last phase of the sun and you're out surfing and you're feeling your bliss, or you're out on the skate park or on your mountain bike or running on a trail, whatever. That's the golden hour. So this is Aten. This is known as the enlightened sun. So we have Un, the high sun, and then the enlightened sun. And then we have Amun, and Amun is the darkness. And so when the sun falls over the western horizon, it goes into darkness. And so you have the 5 phases of the sun, which is interesting because when you die, you west. You follow Amun into the darkness of the western plains or the western desert. And so this was known as westing. And so instead of dying, you west, and you will be reborn again and repeat this process. The other aspects of ancient Kemet were the 5 houses. Yes, there's many more than 5 houses, but there were 5 sacred houses. And so a house is it's a box with a broken bottom, and inside of it or outside of it is the hieroglyph of what the box represents. So the box is the house, and it's called Per. So the Per is the house. And so whatever's underneath it becomes Per whatever. So the first Per is Per-wer. So Per-wer is the house, the broken box, with a man with a cane. And this represents the wiser, Per-wer, Per-wizard. And this was known as either the library or the university. This is a place of knowledge, Per-wer. Okay. So then we have Per-ka. So ka is your body. It's usually represented by the upper torso with the hands upright. And so this is your secondary physical body. If you've ever astral projected or you've had an outer body experience, you're floating up on the ceiling, you're looking at your body on the couch, but you're very physically conscious in this body on the ceiling. Well, your body on the couch is your ka. So it's your physical double, your representation. So Per-ka is the tomb. This is the house of the dead. This is where your physical body lays. We're told in history that Per-ka is the pyramid, but that's not true. Per-neter is the pyramid, and so it's the house of nature or the energy of nature, because neters were not gods. We're told that they are through Egyptology, but they were actually aspects of nature, all of them. Similar to the Hindu gods, similar to the Mesoamerican gods. They were all aspects of nature. They weren't actually physical deities. It was like, oh, thunderstorm, this is this. Thor, whatever. So, same with Norse gods and religion. Anyway, So Preneter is the house of nature. This is a pyramid. It's a house of nature. And the Greeks knew this because they called it pyramidos, the fire in the middle. How is this a tomb if there's a fire in the middle? It's an energy source. So you have per ka, which is the tomb. Then you have per ba. So ba is your body, or sorry, your head on top of a bird's body. And if you've ever seen the movie Spirited Away, the main character confronts the woman that runs the house that she's trying to deal with all the spirits, and she becomes a ba at night. She turns into a bird and flies off, and then in the morning comes back and becomes her physical form again. So this is a ba. It's a bird body with your head on it. This is considered your spirit, hence Spirited Away. And so a house of spirit is a temple. This is where you go to worship, in a sense. But the most fascinating of all of them is per ah. So per ah is the high house. And it's the house of the woman. It's the house of the priestess. And usually you'd see the priestess of Isis, Hatshepsut, or Hathor. But Isis was Aset, so it's the house of Aset. Isis is a Greek name. The Greeks put is at the end of everything that they learned, and so everything that we've learned of Egypt is, Osiris. No, it was Wasir. Horus. No, it was Horsu. All these names are very different in a sense. And so Isis was Aset, and so it was all these goddesses that actually found their kings. And so when we talk about the pharaoh, well, the pharaoh actually comes from Per-Ah, so it's a woman's title. So there were no male pharaohs in ancient Egypt, Kemet, any of it, ever. They were all kings because the woman, the high house, would select their consort, and you always see them with their arm around their consort. Why is this? Well, this is mine versus, hey, babe, this is mine, So there was always a matriarchal system in ancient Kemet that the Greeks overlooked because they saw it all as patrilinear, and so it's, in my opinion, it's wrong because you can obviously see when you're there this whole other aspect. It was a unity project. So the matriarchy wasn't, it's the opposite of patriarchy. No, obviously the woman needs the man needs the woman, right? So
it was a partnership.
It was a partnership, a unity project, exactly. And so the woman ruled over the fertility of the people in the land, the fertility, all right? So the crops would grow and the people would recreate and reproduce. The men, the kings, ruled over the physicality of the people and the land. We have borders, we have territories, and this is my army. And so that was the unity project. Fertility, physicality. We can do this today, but we choose totally the opposite of all of it, which is weird. But these are some of the lessons from ancient Kemet that were there, and we overlook them because everything that we learn about Egypt comes from the Greeks. And they conquered Egypt in 323 BC with Alexander the Great, and then later on. And they just misconstrued everything because they came from a patrilineage society. And so they inflected that on what they saw in the history of what they were understanding with ancient Egypt and Kemet. So anyway, you asked for two aspects. There they are.
I like it. I appreciate it. Well done, my friend. Right. So anyone that's inspired by that, make sure you go and check out Hans's upcoming presentations.
Mindful exposures. I like your post there. A woman understands how to care for her man as much as he does her. Yes, correct. And that should be the way of the world. But it isn't because we're so debaucherized by TV and entertainment and all this crap that just influences us day in and day out. Even if you're not influenced by it, everybody around you is. So you are, second party to it. I can't claim innocence. I'm the same way. It's like, oh my God. I hang out with my friends, and I'm all of a sudden in their influence, and so it's kind of the same with everybody. And yeah, I really wish that we had more of a unity society. I think it would solve a lot of the fucking problems in this world because everything is sadly male dominated, like 955%. So yeah, what do we do? How do we change this? Anyway,
Look into the successes of the past,
bleeding,
right?
bleeding
It's
my
been
heart.
written out. I feel you.
Yeah.
And it's like there's just so much that has been covered up. And well, one of them was that there was a pre industrial age or pre cataclysm civilization around the world that also traveled and documented everything. And
This is Atlantis, right?
yeah,
It wasn't
exactly.
never it was never a place, it was a time period. And that's I've always thought that because if you read Plato's work, he talks about 5 capitals and they weren't just in the Atlantic. So they were global. It was a global civilization. And if the ice age came down and, conquered half of the northern territories, our oceans would have been a hell of a lot smaller. It would have been a lot easier to travel across them. And they would have been a lot shallower. So here we are, right?
And right, exactly. Well put, well said. And that all of these maps now we're finding, like from 500 years ago, 600 years ago, and older, they clearly were remnants from a previous time. And of that time, they show these inflated, expanded
Looking
areas, including where Australia and, there we go, Australia and Antarctica are one, and that South America and Antarctica, there was just a very, very small channel between the two, and the 4 islands up north. This one you can see as well here, and like how much fatter South America was at that point. And Terra Australis all connected down to Antarctica. Yet Antarctica was supposedly not even discovered for a couple hundred years more.
until you get to the maps of Turkey, and then all of a sudden you have Antarctica, but it's free of ice. So where do those maps come from?
Yeah, exactly. The same as the same as the
Well,
one we're currently looking at, right?
look,
It's
looking at South America, it's like it doesn't look anything like that.
and on every one of them, South America comes down to almost touch Antarctica here, and it's Terra Avis Australis / Antarctica. It's quite fascinating what they all appear to show. Terra de Fuego as well.
Regionalis. Regionalis. Interesting.
Still Chile, Patagonium, America ME, America Stefan Trio, like Brasilia still. Like all these names before they were supposedly names. And oh, look, we got rivers going throughout Africa and the Sahara at that time, too. Just like they claim
Well,
10,000 years ago or 6,000 years ago there
the
was.
river near A, all right, doesn't exist anymore.
Yep.
In Africa, the river near A, up there on the left.
Yeah. Oh,
And
exactly.
that's where that tributary goes to the north is where the Eye of Africa is. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally right there. It's
Yeah.
very, very suspicious / fascinating because it gives credence to the work that people like Stig are doing. Shout out to David Stig and the Eye of Africa. And So here we can see every single one of them. There's
They-
like this little channel between the tip of South America
So
and
ice sheets at that point, and now they've retreated a bit.
exactly.
But as you can see, the water level is a lot different because the coastlines are a lot different. Yeah, interesting. But this is all cartographic. It's not done by satellite, so at that point, it's based on people sailing around the coastlines. How do we actually know what they actually look like? But some of these extrusions are very pronounced, and so the question is, were they like that then? So yeah.
Right? And like, what was this island? That was not Australia.
Yeah, that's Australia.
Oh, maybe that one is. My bad.
But it's in the wrong place.
Absolutely, it is.
But you got to remember that we didn't have satellite technology to actually see any of those land masses, and so this is all cartographic.
Like, what are these little cities written all along the coast of what was the ice sheet of Antarctica, south of South America? And like, look, the rivers are all charted and stuff.
Crazy. Yeah, what are the cities, and are they part of Chile, or are they extensions into Antarctica? So yeah. I think in our lifetime we're going to see some amazing things come out of Antarctica. I'll just leave it at that.
I do too. I've got faith in it.
Still in an ice age, which means the ice will shift from north to south and south to north. And we're seeing this happen currently. So we're still in an ice age. We still have polar caps, which means we're still in an ice age. And sadly, our climate models never track the sun. Constantly, I get this, anytime anybody posts about anything that's climate oriented, I get this pop up on my phone that says, oh, climate change is this. And it's mostly driven. And I'm like, no. We have 200 plus volcanoes on the earth right now. And one volcano in one eruption can produce more carbon monoxide and CFCs and pretty much global
emissions, right?
global emissions than 50 years. So we've got 200 of these blown up. A lot of them are into the ocean, which is great. But what is it doing to our water? Obviously, our oceans are heating up as a result of it. But we don't consider any of this. Oh, humans are all the problem of global warming. And it's like we really don't occupy that much space on this planet, people. Yeah, we're polluting the fuck out of our cities. Let's not be dishonest about that. But come on, our sun is doing the majority of this, and omitted from all climate science, well, not all, but majority of climate science is mind-boggling to me. What is our sun doing?
Absolutely.
What is it doing? If I can see the aurora borealis here in Portland, that means
something is going on. It's a little more active. It's in a different cycle than what it's been doing for recorded history, right? Like
that's our sun doing things that we don't normally observe, which means our magnetosphere is depleting. And if I can see the aurora borealis from here, come on, there's an obvious solar system going on there. But I'll just leave it at that. That's my opinion.
We are of the same opinion on that. That it has to do with the sun and anything regarding to global.
We are our own environments. There's no question about that.
Exactly. Pollution has to stop. Destroying the environment needs to stop.
Everything known as effing plastic, man. It's kind of disgusting. Everything. All of our clothes. Oh, I'm so against the environment, but I'm wearing all these amazing, warm clothes that are made from recycled Coke bottles or whatever. Like, oh, you guys are killing me. It's like everything that we own is petrochemical. Everything that we do is petrochemical. Even your electric cars are powered by petrochemical. Come on. We've got to quit thinking that, there's an outsource of this. And honestly, I hate to say it, out of all of the systems that we have for alternative energy, wind, solar, all this, petrochemical is the most least pollutant of all of them. And I'm not a huge.
Yeah.
It is the least pollutant of all of them. Considering what it takes to make a wind tower and the destructive damage it does to the nature, oof. Considering what it takes to make your Tesla car and the destruction nature to all this, you've got to be kidding me. California wants to go by 2030. Oh, there's that magic number again. They want to be completely all electric vehicle. We don't have the resources to refleet an entire city. Yes. Oh God, there's Teslas all over the world. There's electrical vehicles all over the world. But what is the percentage of them? It's not 0.002%,
Right? Like it's just so minuscule, and that
So
if it were to go to 5%, it would crash the electrical grid the way it is. It's
what are you going to do in New York? Drop, cables out of your 15th story apartment building to power your car? Come on now. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It's like there's no way we can make California and the rest of the nation completely electric by 2030. We don't have the physical resources to do it. We don't have the physical energy to do it. It's such an impossibility, and we would destroy the world doing it. Considering how many football fields or soccer fields it takes to just wash out one battery for an electric car. If you realize the destructive nature of what goes into a battery, even my cell phone right here, okay?
Yep.
10,000 people put this together.
Right? The rare earth metals that are required in minerals elements. It's insane.
How many people in different countries made it possible for this device to happen in my hand? Come on, people. It's like we're wishing on dreams that will never happen. And I'm not trying to be a nihilist here. I believe we can figure a way. There are alternative energy projects out there that can solve all of this.
Hydrogen.
All of this. But we're not looking into that because we're still greedy and we want to make fucking money. And no, I'm not a socialist, but I want to figure a way, in a sense, that we can, like Gene Rod very sadly was a socialist, but a science fiction future like Star Trek where we don't need to rely on money, and we've solved money and we've solved crime and we've solved a lot of the health issues, and we can actually become who we are.
They're meant to be, right? The
star stability. There is a stability right now. We have the technology right now, but it's not being released. So what do we do? K-Gardner,
I agree.
What to do? It's like it's a difficult time. We're sitting on the precipice of so much amazing technology.
We need full disclosure in 2025.
Years old, a lot of it. And so, wait, what? 100 years? How much time have those in the dark projects had to reverse engineer a lot of this and make it better? I mean, God, we've had 100 years. Are you serious?
Right, like 3 generations worth of people minimum of a breakaway civilization and technology potentially off-world is what we're actually looking at.
Yes, thank you. Mind-blowing. You put the words in my mouth. I didn't want to go to the breakaway, but obviously that's part of it. It's like, oh well, rules for thee and not for me, right? We're all plebes according to the WF. Oh, you're useless eaters. Well, who are you to decide that we're useless eaters? I got a brain. Most of the people in this audience have a brain. We can do things that they can't. They need us. It's like they're stupid to think that.
I agree. it's wild. They're the ones that are most likely probably not human, and they're definitely the ones that are not acting like it.
Yes, agreed. Fully agreed. Yeah. So what to do? Anyway, that's my speech for the night. What's yours? Just kidding.
All right. Okay. Well, back to the maps and what we're looking at here, and that we can see here, and on the left, that actually this isn't Australia. That it's pretty similar to another map we were looking at earlier, and you're like, that's got to be Australia, and but
I
no,
would fit.
'cause right here they have the what is Australia, and this area is called Terra Australis here. So whatever this thing is,
Well, it
it
could
was
be. It
different.
could be part of that. Yeah. Just
Right, because here's
because,
the
and when
chains
were
of
maps made, right? Yeah, you have. But that's not where that is where Australia is. That's weird. Interesting.
exactly. Very strange.
Hmm.
And then here we have all of these like names and ports and cities on this coast of the ice that was,
Once.
yeah, right? Like, and it's on all of these different maps from that time period. I got to get higher resolution so we can zoom in and actually read what it's saying and claiming there. Very fascinating, but from
What?
a previous time.
So now here we have a Persian map.
Yeah, exactly. In Arabic or Persian too, the exact same, showing the exact same stuff.
Well, this is
Sorry,
like
Hans, we're just on the phone for a sec.
you're all good. This is like the Paris map, and so the Paris map shows a lot of South America, which shouldn't have been known by the Turkish when it was known, and it also shows Antarctica kind of free of ice, not totally free of ice, but it shows some of the landmass that we now see through satellite technology that was once under the ice. And so the question is, how long has the subterranean ice been building where the northern ice has been shrinking? And so this is why I say it like recoagulates based on our rotation of the sun's outburst. This all has an effect on all of this, and we've got to pay attention to this, but we don't. We're like, oh, we're so stuck on human development of climate. It's unbelievable. It's like, no, it isn't just us. Yeah, we're polluting our local environments. I get that. Yeah, we're polluting the oceans off our coast. I get that. But this is not causing massive climate upheaval. We have volcanic action we need to look into. We don't. And we have solar action, which obviously affects the volcanic action. And so, what is that all about? Yeah. There was a great website out of Japan years ago that would track solar activity with climate and volcanic activity on the Earth, and it was shut down. And it was one of the most amazing websites ever back in the day because you could see direct results of what the sun was doing to the Earth. And why would they shut this down? Because they have a narrative and they want to stick to it, and that's where they're at with it. And my opinion is let's look at the sun because it's our as I always say, you take a block of ice and a match, and how long does the match melt the ice? Well, if the match is melting the ice, it's not going to take very long, or not. It's going to take a long time for that match to melt the ice. But if you have something more powerful, like the sun or a beam of light, that piece of ice is going to melt real quick. So we are the match. We're not doing that much. We occupy less than 7% of the landmass of the entire world, which is 1 or 2/5 of the world. The rest is ocean and under ocean. So we occupy less than 7% of 2/5 of the world. Let's think about that. When you fly up over Canada, when you're going from Portland to Amsterdam, for instance, you fly over territory that has never been mapped by humans. Yes, it's been mapped from above by planes, but most people have never, ever, ever walked that territory. There's so much of that that's just desolate. It's the same with Russia. There's so much of Siberia and all those areas that have never, ever been walked by a human. And they're just flown over and, oh, we mapped all this territory. No, you haven't. You have never been there. You've just flown over it. And so this is most of the world, half of Africa, the same thing. I mean, where do people live? They conglomerate in cities and city-states. They don't actually occupy any of the land in between unless it's farmland, which, occupies a lot of the United States and southern Russia and a lot of Ukraine. This is why all these areas right now are in hot contest because, they're the breadbaskets of the world. And so we've got to think about why wars are happening and all these things are happening because they're going after resources. But if you actually look at the unoccupied areas of the world, it's unbelievable. There's a saying, you could put the entirety of the world on 1 acre properties in Texas. Take it as it is, but that is a thought that people think based on how many people actually occupy this planet. We do not occupy what we see. We occupy very small patches of it. And yeah, that's...
I'm almost done with all go. Right. Well said.
Sorry, well, who's that? What?
I was saying well said, and sorry, I'm almost off the phone.
Oh, you're all good. Oh, shit. I just collapsed my screen. Damn it. How did that happen? I'm back. Anyway. So yeah, that's it's my opinion, of course. I'm not stating any of this as fact, but I just want people to realize that when we look at climate issues, we really got to look at the sun and volcanic activity before we look at human activity, because both of these aspects have more influence on our climate than we as humans could ever have in any of our lifetimes. These old maps are amazing. Thanks for sharing them. Wow. Kind of blown away by seeing some of these because these are all cartographic maps. So, wow. This is before satellites. And so, that's a lot of human activity mapping these areas to such an extent that they're very accurate. This is amazing. Now I'm looking at the posts here. Hold on a second. Interesting. So yeah, this is Persian maps. We've got old Russian maps, and they show areas like Tartaria, which is kind of a fascinating topic. Tartaria is also Kham, or the ancient Kham Empire. There are many names for it across many cultures, but the Kham Empire stretched from Egypt all the way across the Middle East, all the way through Asia, all the way into like Indonesia, and we have evidence of this through temple structures. These are all Kham temple structures, but did they cross the oceans? Are they the Olmecs? And this is kind of an interesting fascination. Everybody's like, oh, but the Olmecs look like the people of the region. Well, yes, they do, but where are the people from the region from? Of course, they're going to look like the people of the region. and it's similar to Native Americans. So you have the Hopi and the Zuni. Well, how do they speak ancient Okinawan language? Both of these tribes have a very similar dialect, and it comes from Okinawa. So this is one of the southern islands of Japan. It's one of the extended islands of Hawaii. Hawaii is not just 7 islands as we see it. It's actually over 150 islands. It stretches all the way to Guam. It stretches all the way to Okinawa in southern Japan. And at some point, most of them were above water enough to be island groups. Sadly, in the 1940s, we bombed the F out of these with nuclear and bioradio technology. And so it's sad that a lot of these islands no one will ever be able to visit, like Johnston Atoll and a few others, which is interesting that they're all for sale. I have a catalog of islands for sale, and most of these islands are for sale now. And it's just like, oh my God, you're selling a radiological and biological disaster with a golf course and a swimming pool and a hotel. It's kind of frightening, but these are some of the Hawaiian islands that are for sale, and you can find catalogs. And yeah, who knows? Buy up some of these islands, and you next will be a Bond villain in the last Bond film,
I'm
with, a,
back.
with an island of radiological technology. But yeah, I'm fascinated, as I was saying earlier, Bernie, that a lot of these are cartographic maps, and so we didn't
Right? Like, and they're from all the different cultures, like this
we didn't
Persian one.
we
And that
didn't
this is going
satellite
above the Tropic of Cancer there, or I think, right?
we
Or
didn't have satellite technology to project this, and so this is like beyond fascinating to actually see how almost accurate or accurate for that time some of these maps were. It's fascinating.
it is, and that they are all showing the same features from before the modern era, right? So it's like these were obviously copied generation to generation by the elites, and then they were changed and filled into the new landmass that we now have or know of after exploring whatever the cataclysm is that changed everything, right? And that here's another Arabic one showing the same thing here, and how close there's this channel between South America and Antarctica and whatever this island is. And what the hell is this big island
That's
to
Baja,
there?
but it's and Catalina, but that's now underwater.
Yeah, right. But at one point it wasn't. Like, look how big Madagascar was. What the hell is this giant island?
Well, that's weird
That's
because
India. What the hell are these?
Madagascar is now much further north, so the water has shifted.
Very fascinating. Very
Wait, go
strange.
back to the last map. Hold on a sec. There's an island off of India. What the fuck is that? Sorry.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. What the fuck is this one?
What is my pardon my French?
Yeah, right. Oops. But literally, what the F is that? It's huge. Very
Wow,
strange.
interesting. All right. Yep. Well, we have Vasco da Gama's sworn testimony, his guide. So when he rounded the Cape of Good Horn, or the Horn of Africa, basically, Cape of Good Hope, he sailed into the Indian Ocean and was met by the Indian Navy, and he said they had ships 10 times the size of his largest galleons. So you've got aircraft carriers meeting meeting the Portuguese fleet, and they showed him where Goa was, and that's why he's named after Goa, de Gama and de Goa, right? That's Goa, and all of Goa in Portuguese, which is interesting. Kind of like most of Argentina is German. Hmm. Because a lot of Portuguese sailors ended up in Goa, India, and so it's very much a Portuguese stronghold, which is weird. But if you read Vasco da Gama's scripts, he talks about this navy that met him that were huge. They were so much larger than his ships. And so you've got to wonder, what did the Indian Navy have at that point? Obviously, the seas are not barriers; they're highways, and we've been told they're not highways; they're barriers. And so we've been traveling across the ocean forever. We obviously, duh, explorers will always explore, so they're gonna find a way.
Right, and that there was world trade and world like exchange and exchanging of society, right, and culture, and that we've been lied to on a very massive scale.
That's why I honestly say Atlantis was not a place; it was a time period, and we were a global culture at that time period. And something happened, and everybody had to move, and a lot of them went to Egypt, and a lot of them went into Europe because a cataclysm happened, and it destroyed a lot of North America and the Middle East. And so, where did people end up, right? After that.
It just these maps are so
Oh,
fascinating.
because now they have satellite technology looking over Brazil, and they're seeing cities upon cities upon cities within the Amazon that nobody ever knew were there. And they're so overgrown by terra preta and natural or unnatural growth, because a lot of the Amazon was grown. It was as we see it today. All of it's terra preta underneath it. And so this was an agricultural project. Maybe it was to replenish the oxygen of the earth. Who knows? The Amazon is our lungs, in a sense. And whenever we see them burning every year, it's like, well, the rest of us are suffering hardcore because all those trees are going up in smoke, and those are our lungs. They're creating the oxygen for us to breathe. So, what was South America? What was Brazil? What was the Amazon? Possibly it was, a terraformed area. What was Northern Africa before the cataclysm? It was also jungle. It was a terraformed area. And so we really got to consider this, that we've done this before, and we're now doing it again. We're trying to terraform different places in the world because of our own toxic pollutions. So this is fascinating. Again, obviously we are polluting our earth. I'm not going to say that we aren't. We are. And
But no carbon tax is going to save
of course,
the
you're not
world,
going to
yet
pay
alone change the temperature.
$1 billion to California, and none of it goes to any climate aversion. That's ridiculous. Carbon credits, all this shit is bullshit. Hi, we just need to realize our sun, our volcanic action are the most polluters in this world, and then we are polluting our local environments. That's it. If we can figure out how to not pollute our local environments, then we're golden. But the rest of it is nature, and we've got to realize this. Like, really realize this, people.
Yeah. And what happened to the ice caps of the moon? What happened to the ice caps of Mars? In the 80s and 90s, well documented, there was ice caps on both. Now, never mentioned, yet alone no new pictures. So, what happened? Is there
1975, when we went to Mars, we found evidence of water. Every single time we've gone back to Mars, we keep finding evidence of water as if it's the newest thing we've ever discovered there. We discovered it in 1975, people. It's in their documents. We also discovered bacterial life on Mars. So, as Carl Sagan always would say, if we find bacteria in the universe, it means the universe is teeming with life. Well, we found it on Mars, 1975. We don't talk about this. But look at the 1975 reports. It's right there in all of it. Sorry.
I fully agree. It's ridiculous.
Boy,
And
spoiler alert. Yeah, anyway, it's been there forever. But strangely, every time we go to Mars, we're like, oh, we just discovered
we
water.
just found it. We
For-
just
for-
found it. We're still looking for it. We found it 10 times, 30 times already, but we're still looking for it.
It's been there the whole time. And as has been bacterial life. So, derpadur. Um,
Yep.
sorry, spoiler alert, folks. But yeah, this has been found 10 times over.
What else is alive there? That's the real question.
Correct. Now that we know that that's all there, what else is there? Because if we have water on the planet and we have bacterial life in the atmosphere and we have excretions of bacterial life and we have strangely resonance of nuclear technology on Mars, what happened there?
Yeah. Great
That's a
question.
big question because we do have the radioisotopes of nuclear technology on Mars.
Yep.
It has been recorded more than once. So science, always is skeptical until you have something you can prove it by. More than once, we've recorded these isotopes, and they're only available through nuclear technology. So why is that on Mars?
And John Brandenburg has done a lot of research on that and written papers and books on it. And yeah, he's gonna be back on APEC again soon talking about that. And it truly is fascinating and needs to be investigated more, because why do they keep denying and covering it up and then saying, like you just pointed out, oh, we just found it, and then not talking about it, then
Guy
trying to
from
claim they just found it
Nepal
again.
found a river flowing off of a mountain on Mars. Well, we knew there was water there in 1975. Hello, come on, guys. Yeah. What is the outcome of that? Well, obviously, it's leading up to maybe we can survive there. Elon Musk. It's a one-way ticket. Obviously, he knows that for anybody that goes there, including himself. Because once you're there, you're going to adapt, and you can never come home, and that's.
And you're going to be kind of stuck as well on how do you get back.
Right, and so this is kind of that movie Pandora or something like this, where they inject everybody in hypersleep to adapt to the new world that they are supposed to land on. They crash land, nobody knows, and hundreds of years go by, and the crew that's been adjusted to this new scenario adapts, and they become mutants, and they're eating everybody that comes out of their cryostasis when they come out of their cryostasis. It's like, well, we kind of need to do that going anywhere that we go. I mean, humans have never been outside of the Schumann resonance of Earth. Oh, we've been to the moon. Yeah, well, if we've been to the moon, that's great, but it's still within the electromagnetosphere of Earth, which means it's still in the Schumann resonance. Human beings, to what we know, have never left that. How could we? We can't recreate that harmonic resonance that keeps us alive to what we know. Obviously, again, my opinion. But how are we able to do that? We've never left it. Even, our low Earth orbit ISS, questionable what goes on there, but we'll keep that in our own. Videos come out, and it's just like, how? There's so many questions here. How are you not destroying the equipment while you're floating around in a monkey suit? But anyway, I posted that recently. But you got to start to realize that, we have never left that we know of, our human race, our magnetosphere, because we can't. How would we survive in a tube going to Mars as a human race without that pulse of life that we all have? And to me, that's a very interesting scenario.
Yeah, and it's gonna be very interesting to see if Elon starts sending rockets to Mars and some volunteers
He
potentially.
was supposed to do that by now. Funny that he can't even get his major rocket off the ground. And we're still using Russian rockets to get to the ISS. Wow, wait, aren't they our enemy?
Right? Like, well said there. Very suspicious, to say the least.
Highest ground. It's the most amazing military complex ever created, International Space Station. And we share it with our three enemies, China.
Yeah.
Russia. Yeah. And others. So I said three enemies, but yeah, those
I was
are
like, I don't think Iran's in there. I think they
no, but we're
close.
on
But
our
yeah,
so yeah.
India is.
America, India, Russia, China. We share the ISS with them. This is the highest military ground you could ever have. How do we get there? Russian spacecraft from the middle of Kazakhstan. Come on, people. How is Russia our enemy? Please tell me this. On one level,